All right. So, hello everyone. Today we are joined by Miss Kamaria Wright, aka my co-host of our new podcast, Millennial Moods. She is the author of Becoming Her: The Journey from Survival to Self. Her book explores what happens when survival mode becomes a lifestyle, especially for women who are praised for being strong, dependable, and successful, yet feel disconnected from themselves. Through faith, honesty, and reflection, Kamaria invites readers to examine who they became to survive and who they are becoming now. So, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause, Miss Kamaria Wright. Yes, girl. Yes, girl. Yes, girl. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. It's
Happy
so
New
good to
Year.
see
Happy
your
New Year.
lovely face.
Yes, ma'am. It's good to see you as well.
So, how have you been? I know the last time I saw you, when the football get together, was that Christmas or thanks? Oh Lord.
No, that was right before Christmas. It was
Okay.
right before Christmas. And so being that it was right before Christmas, I think it's that the SEC football game is always that first weekend in December.
Okay.
So that's the last time that you and I saw each other.
Okay. All right. All
Where we're
right.
able to hang out.
Right, right. That was a lot of fun. Thank you for inviting me. The food is
Of course.
always good. I need people to know that my friend cooks for real. Like my friend cooks for real, for real. So I just want to say the food is always good. Thank you so much for inviting me. Your
Of
hospitality.
course.
I really appreciate you, my friend. Love you, love you.
Of course. Listen, I cook 4 times a year. Like
Girl, stop it.
you get four good
Stop
home cooked
it.
meals from me. Now, I make meals, throughout the I make meals throughout the year because I do meal prepping for myself.
Mhm,
But as far as like your soul food, Thanksgiving, Christmas,
mhm,
those types of meals, I literally only prepare those types of meals 4 times out of the year.
mhm,
You get it Thanksgiving, you get
mhm.
4th of July, you get Memorial Day, and then you get Christmas around Christmas time. Other than that, it's healthy,
Mhm.
preparing chicken breasts, broccoli,
All right.
that type of stuff. I'm not doing the yams and the collard greens and the black eyed peas and dressing and stuff like that. I'm not doing all that.
Okay. Ain't nothing wrong with that, girl. That's nothing wrong with that. I understand that. All right, so let's get into this book. So my friend has written a book. I've known you for maybe about 2 years now, a couple of years now. Met you through your husband.
Yes,
We grew up
ma'am.
together, and I will say that the friendship has been invaluable for me. I just sometimes I feel like how you have this. I guess they call it kindred spirits, where you feel like you have
Yeah,
known somebody forever, even though I
yeah.
just met you less than 5 years ago. And it just feels like we've known each other forever. Like I just feel like we click so well. And the views that we have and the way that you and I see the world and things that are happening and the way that we kind of approach life, I think is very similar. And it is very I feel like it's very rare that you
Mhm.
find somebody that you really click with, especially being women. It's very hard for me. It's very hard to really click with a female. Because
Mhm.
the energy has to be right. Like, people are not how people used to be. So I just appreciate your friendship and the person that you
Mhm.
have been in my life. And I just want to say thank you for being a
Oh, oh,
friend.
yeah, yeah. Listen.
And all of that. Yes, the Golden Girls. Girl, bring it back.
Yes,
Oh,
of course,
goodness.
of course, of course.
Yes. Okay, so
Um,
where do we start? So let's start at the beginning. I don't know if you have like a table of contents and just kind of, but like
mhm,
how so when the reader is first starting to read about you, like do you have a dedication or an acknowledgement
mhm.
page, or how do you begin to kind of bring the reader into who you are?
So to begin with the story, when the reader begins to read, it kind of takes me through this moment in time that I was thinking some things to myself, and then I started to have some questions. And one of those questions was, who the am I?
Mhm.
Because that is a question that at 37, I didn't think that I would have to be searching for the answer for, or
Mhm.
searching for what that truly meant. So as the reader, begins to read, it starts off with the question, who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
And how do I even begin to break down this question and to truly see what is the essence of myself. At If you strip away my titles, if you strip away my
Mhm.
job, if you strip away
Mhm.
my degrees and the things that I do for people, who am I at my
Mhm.
rawest form?
Mhm.
So that's how the book begins, and that's how the story opens up, and then it just takes you through
Mhm.
a journey of me from a little child all the way up to adult, and how in the beginning how survival mode began to show up quietly through the actions of the adults around me, and
Mhm.
then how it was then embedded in myself to the point that it became my, in a sense, identity. I lived my life in survival mode.
Right.
So that's how the book starts, and when I say the survival mode, I mean like living in a constant mode of response. Like you have to be
Mhm.
on all the time. It's like you're overachieving, you're people pleasing, you're staying
Mhm.
busy, you're
Mhm.
trying to get ahead of the game and not be behind. So
Mhm.
everything you do is not because you want to do it, but because you feel like you have to do
You
it.
have to.
So you are just trying to survive and get to the next thing. And it seems like your work is never done. And so
Yeah.
I'm ready to exit out of that. And that is why I began to write this book kind of as a release for myself
Mhm.
to not only explore who I am as a woman, but to begin to exit out of survival mode, because
Mhm.
you are not meant to stay in survival mode. And that is what I want my readers to really take away from reading this book, is that you are not meant to live
Mhm.
and just be in survival mode all the time.
Right.
We are all meant to thrive in
Right.
life. And so, if sharing my story and
Mhm.
how I am coming out of survival mode, because there are
Mhm.
still days, I'm not perfect. And this book that I'm writing, and even though I'm getting all of my thoughts out, it hasn't fixed me in a sense. There are still days that I feel like I'm in survival mode, but I am learning to come out of survival mode more and more so that
Mhm.
I can be in what they call the soft girl era.
Right. Okay. I love that for you. I love that for you. So just kind of can you tell me, I guess like what has like the last I would say 5 years of your life been like? Personally, professionally, like how has that been for you and like how has the possible events of the past, some odd years led up to this point in your life?
All right. So the last 5 years have been actually very significant as to what led up to this book. Because in last 5 years, I lost my grandmother suddenly. This was someone who was healthy, and then something called COVID-19 came in and just snatched her away. And so that was something that shook me to my core, because it was something that nobody saw coming. None of us saw it coming. So, when you lose that pillar in the
Mhm.
family, because that's what she was. She was a pillar in the family. When you lose that pillar in the family, it shakes you to your core, to the point it's like, what are we going to do? What am
Mhm.
I going to do? What does my life now look like
Mhm.
um that she's gone?
Mhm.
And so from there, the world kind of shut down. The world had been shut down, and then the world gradually opened back up, and then it was business as usual. But
Mhm.
in between that, There was no healing. So it's like
Mhm.
suffer a major loss, keep going, keep going.
Right.
Because what survival mode taught me, I learned from the adults around me who were also in survival mode. You experience a loss, you feel it for only a moment, and then you keep it pushing. You keep it moving. You can't let that stop everything
Yeah.
that you have going for everything else that has to be done. It's like life goes on. So what do? You pick up and you keep moving. And so that's exactly what I did. And so
Mhm.
not realizing that years and years of doing that would
Mhm.
start to bring me and my nervous system all the way down.
Yeah.
So I lived in that. Okay, everything I'm doing that year after she passed away, everything I'm doing was to honor her legacy and to honor the person that she was. And so there was never a moment of true healing, though. Yeah, it
Mhm.
felt great. It felt great because in that year after that, I bought my first house. I was awarded Teacher of the Year. I was able to accomplish some other things. I was on the not student, I was on the teacher advisory council for the Atlanta Public School District. I mean,
Mm.
I was making some real
Big
big,
career
yeah,
woman.
I was making some really big
Mm.
moves. So everything I did, um, was in my eyes, I was being very successful. But a lot of times survival mode can show up like success
Mhm.
because again, I still had not stopped to check and gauge how I was truly feeling and what was
Mhm.
truly going on in my head. And
Yeah.
so I kept going. And, fast forward to, 2 or 3 years after that, I ended up getting into a school district that was closer to home. So it made my life and my commute a lot easier. And so, that was that. And then all of a sudden, I started to feel some things. I
Mhm.
started to feel some things. And what I now know is that some of that was grief. It was unacknowledged grief, and
Yeah. I was about to ask you.
it was unacknowledged grief, and it was had gotten to the point that um it started to come out in different behaviors. I started to be a lot more depressed. I started to be a lot more anxious. Like phone calls from my mom, phone calls from family members made
Mhm.
me extremely nervous for a very
Mhm.
long time. For a very long time, because during the time that my grandmother was in the hospital,
Mhm.
um, they would give us updates and things like that. So,
Yeah.
when we got that last update that, something that we didn't expect, it imprinted in my mind. Phone calls from family members mean bad things. So that started to show up
Mhm.
because I had not slowed down to acknowledge that,
Mhm.
to deal with it, and to work on it. So anxiety, depression, grief, all of that stuff began to show up. And then that's when I started to question, who am I? Like,
Mhm.
and where are these feelings truly coming from? Because anytime you want to think about it like this, if you're trying to find something, what do? You retrace your steps to say, okay, where's the last place I was? Where are my keys? Where
Right.
the last place I was? You start to
Right.
retrace your steps. So in
Mhm.
this time, I knew that because my grandmother was gone and I no longer had someone to hide under or hide my identity under, I had to
Mhm.
figure out who I was for myself and not who mom wanted me to be, who grandmother said I would be, or anything like that. I had to figure out who Kamaria was for myself. And
Mhm.
so through my depression, through my anxiety, I began to question, how do I get to the true essence of myself? And in doing so, my nervous system started to shut down. It started to completely shut down to the point that, I had a nervous breakdown, and
Mhm.
that wasn't pretty. But that's because people who are in survival mode, they keep going. They don't stop for a second to feel anything. And so it came to the point where, in that nervous breakdown, my nervous system was pretty much saying, we cannot do this anymore. We
Yeah.
can't do this. You're going to have to acknowledge these feelings. You're going to have to deal with your grief, and you're going to have to look and see where is your depression and anxiety. What is it rooted in, and where did it come from?
Mm-hmm.
So these last 5 years, I've gone through all of those phases. And in a sense, I'm still going through these phases because it's like your work to figure out who you are and to rediscover yourself is really never done, because who you are in this season may not be who you'll be in 3 seasons, in the next
Right.
lifetime or whatever.
Right.
So I'm continuing to evolve. And as I'm evolving, I'm just learning and figuring out more and more things. So, yeah, that nervous breakdown happened recently, actually. So if we're thinking about the last 5 years,
Mm.
the nervous breakdown actually happened recently, to the point that, I had to take a leave of absence from work. And I really had to get to the root of my depression and
Yeah. Just
anxiety,
take a
because
step back.
I was most people call functional. I have functional depression.
Mm.
And because a lot of times people think
Yeah.
depression looks like
Hmm.
sitting in bed, not being able to get out of bed.
Right.
But nobody talks about that depression, where you have a lot of Black women have functional depression, because
Hmm.
we have always been taught that we
Hmm.
have to be on. We have to
Hmm.
be on. You don't have time to be depressed. But
Right.
at the same time, it's like that puts us in survival mode. So every day I was just waking up to survive the day. I was going through the motions. So my body was here, but my mind was definitely um, somewhere else. So the last 5 years have really defined what survival mode looked like for me, and
Hmm.
how I can begin to come out of that.
Okay, okay. That's interesting. I know, like for me, I've experienced death like a lot in my family.
Mhm.
Like on my dad's side, like all of his siblings passed
Mhm.
away. A lot of them before I was born, and then like as I was getting older, they passed away. And then like I know three people close to me in my immediate family. My dad, that was going on a little over 20 years now. My dad, my brother, my mother. So those are three people that I have had in my life. And then it's just like, especially with last 2024.
Mhm.
2024, my mother passed, my biological mom, and I know that was a lot for my sister and I. My brother, mind you, he passed in 2018, but
Mhm.
you know how they say you learn a lot when you experience death and things like it affects people differently.
Yes, of
And
course.
going back to the grieving, you said that you really been in survival mode, did not really have that full time to grieve. And that's, I feel like, is a continuous process. But it's like
Mhm.
stages of grief where you're like, not denial, you're not really accepting of what's going on, denial, acceptance, bargaining. Like it's kind of something that I learned about when I was in school. Because I was
Mhm.
supposed to go in occupational therapy. So there were certain classes where we talked about grief and death and those
Mhm.
different stages, and how to help your patient if that is the case, and things like that. And no one, in my opinion, I don't feel like anyone is really ready to experience death, because we don't know when it's going to happen. That's one of those
Yeah, of
things.
course.
I'm a
Mhm.
person where I like to plan. I like to do things to where I kind of can predict the ending, or at least how
Of
it may
course.
happen. So when
Mhm.
you have death come into the picture, at least for me, like my mom, 2024, we knew that she was getting sickly, and at some point there was going to be an ending, but we just didn't know when. So I just,
Mhm.
for me, it has been very emotional for me. And you don't always cry in front of people, you don't always cry, or just experience those emotions, those different emotions, as they say on
Mhm.
camera. But it's those moments like 2 o'clock in the morning, or
Mhm.
you'll be at work and somebody says something, or a coworker or somebody will do something,
Yeah, of course.
and it just kind of hits you, and you kind of freeze a little bit. My coworker
Mhm.
also lost his mother, I think that same year. So I don't know
Mhm.
how it would affect a son. Like I know they say boys and their mothers is a different type of relationship. So for him to
Mhm.
have lost his mother, and then me being the daughter having lost my mom, the relationship I guess can be different, I guess, depending on the, the relationship, the person, the gender, what have you. But I just think death is one, that's also a topic that I kind of wanted to tackle at some point during this year, because I feel like death is a very complex thing. It's a
Mhm.
part of the life cycle, so we know it's going to happen to everyone at some point.
Yeah.
But like the feelings that you experience before it happens, and then after someone has passed away, especially when they're close. Like I still miss my brother. I still miss, my mom, my dad, all of these
Mhm.
people. And sometimes for me, sometimes I do feel lonely. Like I don't have any kids. Like that I don't have any
Mhm.
kids. I have a little pup at home and whatnot, and I'm so thankful for her, my little emotional support animal. But
Of
like when you
course.
sometimes you get to where it's like, okay, where is my family that I can call on, or when I start to feel things. So I feel like for
Mhm.
me recently, Thanksgiving, Christmas, my sister and I, we've been checking on my cousin on my dad's side. She lost her husband. And he was like just like one of us in the family, like almost like we were blood
Mhm.
related. And her husband passed away. So I feel like we have actually, or for me, have connected more with that particular person and my family, and
Mhm.
her daughter who was in college. And now I don't, just by reconnecting with her and her daughter who is 18, I feel like
Mhm.
I'm not so alone, because I live alone. I don't have kids, stuff like that. But slowly getting back to, the family that I grew up with, I was around, I would talk to. And I feel like that has helped me to kind of not be in such a depressed mode, because you say, oh, well, I have my job, I have my career, I feel so fulfilled. A lot
Mhm.
of people, their job, their career is what fulfills them and gives them purpose. But like you said, who am I when I strip away those titles? So when I strip
Exactly.
away my profession, even, the wife title, or, the church going person title, or what have you, who are you when you strip away those titles? And sometimes I have to think
Mhm.
about that, like for me, for myself. So like that means, yeah, I can relate. I can definitely relate to that part of what you're saying.
Yes,
Um,
of course.
when you are
And
right,
a
when
lot of
you're
what
writing,
you I'm
go
sorry,
ahead.
I didn't
No,
mean to
you're
cut
fine.
you
Go
off.
ahead.
A lot of what you were saying, especially going back to, you liking to plan and everything predictable and things like that. I actually discovered that that is a form of being in survival mode. Predictability. Why? Because it's safe. And anything that comes to derail that predictability or
Mm-hmm.
change plans becomes unsafe. That's because you haven't dealt with the feelings and the things that surround why you feel unsafe when you're not able
Mm-hmm.
to control things and plan things and be able to predict things. And so, um, sorry about it. And so, and doing that research and doing that soul searching, I found that that is actually a form of how survival mode begins to show up in your life. So yeah, I would say definitely we need to tackle the death um topic later on this year, because that is a big one that everyone in some form, in some shape or form, will and have experienced and will continue
Mm-hmm.
to experience throughout their lifetime. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that that's definitely a topic that needs to be discussed, and how many people live in survival mode after that, after
Mm-hmm.
death, and how they live in survival mode after death.
Mm-hmm. All right, my next question is about confidence. So, with your book Becoming Her, have you have you ever struggled with, and that's for me, I know I have, I don't know about you. Have you ever struggled with confidence in your life? And if so, like how did you kind of work, if you did, how did you
Mm-hmm.
work through that?
Let me tell you, honey, becoming her, some of it is was inspired during a phase in my life that I was not the most confident. I wasn't confident at all. In fact, I started to look at other people. I started to compare myself to
Mhm.
other people, and my confidence has always been a struggle for me. So you start to couple that with looking at other people and comparing yourself to other people. You are
Mhm.
looking and you are asking for depression and anxiety. You're just inviting it right on in because that intensifies
Mhm.
it. And for someone who was already depressed,
Mhm.
already anxious, you add confidence issues on top of that. Honey, listen, I have always struggled with my confidence. And still to this day, I sometimes, it's not as often
Mhm.
as it used to be, but it is something that is always there. And I think a lot of times what starts to break down our confidence is comparison. And when we begin to compare ourselves to other people, and going
Yep.
back to, I actually talk about it in my book, and how, comparison kills. If you start to look at other people, you think, I am way far behind. For example,
Mhm.
me and my husband, we got married, and we'll be celebrating 14 years
Mhm.
of
Wow.
marriage. We'll be
Hey.
celebrating 14 years of marriage here in February. We've actually been together 18 years, and 14 of those years we've been married.
Mhm.
So you would think that in those 18 years we would have like two or three children. But looking at other people and comparing myself to other people, it really threw me in a tizzy of I'm behind. I,
Mhm.
I'm I'm far behind, and I have to try to make up for me being um behind. And so you try to you get yourself in this rushing act. So you go from one thing to the next. You go from, okay, I got this degree, let me go get another degree. Or I bought this house, let me go get a car. Or I bought this car, let me go get the latest shoes and handbags and stuff like that. And so I began to look and see that, oh my goodness, I am making up for the things that I feel like I have lost out on
Mhm.
with buying stuff. And when I say everything that, when I'm looking in my closets and stuff like that, I'm like, this is what I have filled my life with because I was comparing myself to other people because my confidence was
Mhm.
low. It's expensive because
Mhm.
all of that stuff in my closet, it's like I was looking at what other people had and I had to get it because I couldn't be left out. I couldn't be the one that didn't have, because that's how I grew up. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So that's another way survival mode shows up. You start to compare yourself and then rush. You start to compare yourself and then rush. And
Mhm.
so I'm rushing to try to get to the status of other people. But what I'm not stopping to ask is, um, Pastor Mike said it best. You may be comparing yourself to a situation where the devil has one person
Mhm.
being at that moment. So you comparing yourself to the Joneses, but the Joneses are really living in hell. But you comparing yourself to that because
Mhm.
to you it looks good, but you don't know what kind of hell they might be catching behind closed doors. So I
Mhm.
found that to boost my confidence, I try not to compare myself to anybody. Granted, we still do it sometimes, but
Yeah.
you have to start to slow down your thoughts and really recenter your thoughts on, you know what? That is their journey. That is their journey, not my journey. I'm on my own journey, and I am okay with where I am. And when I figured out that I was okay with where I was, I stopped
Mhm.
rushing. I started to feel myself coming out of survival mode. I started to
Mhm.
gain my confidence back. Um,
Mhm.
because it's like, me, when I struggled with my confidence, I was looking at every aspect of my life and nothing in my life was good. But really and truly, I was blessed beyond measure. I was blessed beyond measure. So
Mhm.
I had to really stop and recenter my thoughts. It's like, where is this coming from? Why are you stressing yourself out on a job that you hate
Mhm.
instead of doing what you really want to do? Why are you stressing yourself out? Because that job
Yeah.
has a higher paying salary. And if I keep increasing my salary, I'm able to get this big, pretty house that I want. Why are you getting the
Mhm.
house? To impress people. Mm-mm. You need to recenter your thoughts,
Yeah.
recenter yourself, stop
Mhm.
comparing yourself, and ground yourself in the fact that, you know what, I'm okay with where I am. I'm okay with where I am now.
Mhm.
And I'm going to really start trusting God to guide me, because that's another thing. It's so many caveats to this that we can go into. But another major
Right.
thing is the fact that if you're not trusting God and what
Mhm.
He has ordained for you, you begin to make decisions that are very distant from what He has planned for you, because you're in control. And when you are trying to plan things and control things and predict things, it's like, what do you need Him for? So I really had to take a step back, trust God, stop comparing myself, and ground myself in the fact that I'm okay with where I am in life at this very moment. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
their journey is their journey, and my journey is mine. So that's
Yeah.
how, my whole confidence boost. That's where it comes from. And then, of course, reminding yourself, not always going into the mirror and picking out the negative things about yourself, or,
Mhm.
just thinking about life in general and going
Mhm.
through the negative things about yourself, but
Mhm.
really grounding yourself in, you know what, I'm okay with where I am.
I like that. I like that. Do you put those 3 points somewhere in your book about what you
Yes,
just said?
yes, they are. They're towards
Those
the
need to be
end.
listed. Like, yeah,
Yes.
I know that
Those
makes.
are they're towards the end, because
Mhm.
it comes to like a full circle moment for me,
Mhm.
where at the towards the end of the book, I start to give you tangible means of coming out of survival mode, things that have helped me to begin to
Mhm.
come out of survival mode. So yes, those 3 points are in there, along with some reflection questions on how did you enter into survival mode, and how can you use these 3 things to get you out of survival mode.
Okay. All right, that's good. Yeah, I know those man, those three points are I feel like are so key to everything. I know like as with you, I for me I've struggled with confidence off and on in my life, and I'm just like why was that even a thing? Cuz like I had both of my parents, and
Mm-hmm.
my mom loved me, my dad loved me, like you would
Mm-hmm.
think like doing good
Let
in
me.
school, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, why would I struggle with confidence? Like, even with being around the church kids, being around church
Mm-hmm.
kids, I would be nervous or anxious being around them. Like in Sunday school, like
Yeah.
I've always had like a hormonal imbalance. So like I'm like a person who sweats. So I get around people, like I said, it could be regular people, church
Mm-hmm.
people, and I have this subconscious anxiety. Maybe they're
Yeah.
looking at me, or they're
Yeah.
talking about me. Is something on my my pants or something or whatever. And I've always like I know that's weird, but like I've
No,
always,
it's
like I
not
said, off
weird.
and on. It's like a social anxiety that I have carried
Mm-hmm.
with me a lot of my life. As I've gotten older and more self-aware, it has decreased, it has lessened a lot. But coming up, like pre-puberty, puberty, high school, like I said, dealing with
Mm-hmm.
the hormonal imbalance and things like that, that confidence, I was not, listen, Easter speeches. Imagine being 14, 15, having to do a damn Easter speech, and the anxiety, people watching you. At some point, we were able to do the plays. We moved from speeches to the Easter plays or whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
the confidence factor is just so pivotal,
Yeah.
pivotal. And I'm just like, why is it like that with women, but not so much with men? Because you got some ugly men out here. They ugly,
Mm.
they stink, they don't have much of anything going. But it's somebody, some female out here that think they confidence and they're attracted to them. and they're in a relationship or they're dealing with somebody. And I'm just like, why is it always
It's
us as women that deal with this confidence factor?
seeds at very young ages, women and men, there are some men out there who fake their confidence. They fake their confidence, and really deep down inside, they are very insecure. Very insecure. You have a lot of men who are really insecure, but they hide behind arrogance. They hide behind
Mm.
all kind of stuff. You would be surprised. Like, men experience it too, and what I discovered is that it was seeds that were planted to kind of really begin to gradually chip away at your confidence. And so, as those seeds are planted, it begins to grow. And think about it like this. I heard a sermon once, and I can't remember who did the sermon, but it's like, there was a sermon, it was on Adam and Eve, and
Mm.
someone said that, God asked Adam and Eve, who told you you were naked? All this time, you've been naked and you didn't know that you were naked. So who told you that you were naked? So I figured, it's like that serpent planted the seed of guilt. That's
Mm.
where the serpent planted that seed of guilt, to where they then felt guilty and recognized that something was wrong with them. So that
Mhm.
takes me back to when I'm thinking about confidence and I'm thinking about the things that you just stated. It's like, you have to go back and trace your steps, trace the things that you've experienced, trace, and go back to, life experiences and interactions that you've had that might have placed that seed in you that started to chip away at your confidence, to give you that social anxiety, to give
Mhm.
you that self-consciousness and things like that. And it's like, you can work on those things. My motto is, if it's something that you don't like about yourself, work on
Mhm.
it. Like, for a very long
Yeah.
time, I hated the way that my body looked, and I hated the fact that I just felt lazy and complacent with, my health. So I joined Burn Boot Camp, to change that, and I've been changing it ever since. For the last two and a
Mm.
half years now, I've really been working hard to
Yeah. Yeah.
change how I view my body. But the more I try to change how I view my body through diet and exercise, the more I'm learning that it's also a mind thing, that I have to change my mindset about it
Mhm.
too. So,
It
in
is.
order to change my mindset, I got to go back to the beginning. I got to go back to the beginning. Who planted that seed that you weren't beautiful? Who planted the seed, or what? It doesn't even have to be a who or what.
Mhm.
It could be something as simple as, you might have seen a commercial you might have seen a commercial on TV and figured, I don't look like that. Am I
Mhm.
ugly? You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so it's like, really looking at the seeds that have been planted in your life to make you feel that way, and to really amplify what it is that you feel about yourself.
Yeah. Amen. Amen.
Hmm.
Oh man, you are so like, I don't know. You really, and I know you probably heard this before. Like, you really need to be a mental health counselor. Like, I'm serious. Like, either a mental health counselor or a life coach. And I know we're just having the conversation because other people
Hmm.
really need to have the conversation about death, about confidence, about who you are,
Hmm.
evolving, self awareness. Like, people really need to tap into those aspects of who they are. But I feel like you as a mental health counselor or a life coach would be, it would really change the life of some people because people don't understand that. So mental health has always been a thing, but
Hmm.
it has gotten mental health has become a greater issue.
Yeah.
It's been a greater issue, I would say, over the last 10 years.
Yes.
Because you'll see people walking down the street. I'll see a guy, African American male, walking down the street, and I think he's on the phone. I think he's on the phone. I think he might have a
Hmm.
Bluetooth in,
Speak on
but
it.
he's not talking to anyone. He's
Talking
just
to
talking to the
himself.
like the voices in his head. People don't
Mhm.
understand that mental health is real. Your
Yes.
career can drive you to a place. Not feeling like you are worthy or confident enough in your skin can drive you to a place.
To a
Allowing other
place.
people that are not in your network, not a
Mhm.
part of your safe space, can drive you to a place. And it's
Yes.
just like, I don't know if you have really, tapped into, the mental health area of things, but that would really save some people from being, in the crazy house, because the way
Yes.
that you speak and your voice and everything, even though you say you have been through these things, and some have been recent and some have been over time, but how you have pulled yourself up by the bootstraps, as they say, and really just kind of analyze the scene
Mhm.
around you to be
Yes.
able to speak your truth, to me or your
Mhm.
husband, to be able to speak your truth, like that speaks volumes. And to be able to, like, I haven't known you that long, but I just appreciate you sharing that with me, because I mean, a lot of times I'm just a private person. My medical issues, that's my
Mhm.
business. Who I'm dating, that's
Mhm.
my business. What I'm going through at work, that's my business. But it
Mhm.
has been a disadvantage for me because I have
Mhm.
all of this bottled up. I have all
Yeah.
of this bottled up, and I feel like I can't talk to anyone. Now I feel like, okay, I can call Kamaria, then I can kind of tell her what I feel or what I'm going through, whether you can
Mhm.
relate or even if you can't. Like I said, it's the calmness that you have, and it's
Yeah.
the reassuring, I guess, feeling that I get, that you're not going to judge me if
Mm-mm.
I tell you something. Like, I need you to be my mental health counselor. Like, I have really been in some mental spaces, and I'm just like,
Mhm.
okay, Megan, you need to really you got to find a way to get past that. Like, you're not perfect, and
Yeah.
yes, you're not the weight that you were in college, although I wish I was the weight that I was in college. But I mean,
Honey.
things are different.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pushing 40. I'll be 40 this year. You're
Mhm.
almost, to that point as well. Like, things are changing. You are evolving. I am evolving. And I feel like it's better that way, because if you stay one way your whole life, and some people have, like, some people are just like, you know what?
Well, they say
I've been
peaked in
this
high
way. I've
school
always been this way. They're not gonna change. I got a
at
cousin
all.
right now. I got a cousin that is such an asshole to me. Like, oh, well, you don't pick up the phone when I call you. Oh my God, when you call me, you got something slick to say. Like, you're
Yeah.
not really adding value to my life. Like,
Mhm.
I am evolving. So if evolving means separating myself from family members, or I don't know how you feel about this, separating yourself from certain people or
Mhm.
groups of people, then I
Mhm.
feel like that's what we need to do. I don't know how you feel
Yeah.
about it, but
Yeah. I'm all for setting boundaries, but Sister Iyanla really clarified this for us on the Breakfast Club. I believe it was yesterday. She did her interview on the Breakfast Club, either yesterday or Thursday. She said, "Are you setting boundaries or are you putting up walls?" Because the difference
you like her?
is,
You feel like she's
yeah,
authentic?
yes,
Hmm.
I do. I do. And some of the stuff that she says, it is stuff that I have discovered myself, and some
Hmm.
of the stuff that I have been able to analyze and find out for myself. So to
Mm.
hear it, it's like, okay, yeah, I can see that. Because, like, when you're setting a boundary, you're still
Hmm.
allowing people in, right? But when you are
Hmm.
putting up a wall, it's like, nope, you can't come over here with that, you know? Now, sometimes cutting people off, that's the boundary, because you have to protect your peace. And
Yes.
if my evolving means that you're uncomfortable with that, then you need to start doing some soul searching for yourself so that you can start evolving. But again, that is your journey. This year, my motto is, I'm not carrying nobody's baggage but my own.
Hmm.
So you have to
Hmm.
come to terms with why it is my evolving makes you uncomfortable, or why you feel the need to, say slick things at the mouth to me. It's like, why is that? Why is our relationship, why is our dynamic like that? So, finding out those types of things, and really saying what are my boundaries, and how are they at play, and where did these boundaries come from? Because this year my boundary is that is not my journey. My auntie Jean, listen, she will in a minute, she'll put her hand up. That's not my journey. And I said, you know what?
Not the talk to the hand.
Listen, that's not my journey. And when my auntie Jean say that's not my journey, we're here with it, because you have to also learn to give people back their emotional baggage, because a lot of us are walking around here in
Mm-hmm.
survival mode, might I add. I'm always keep coming back to the book. We're
Right,
walking around
right.
here in survival mode, carrying bags and carrying things that are not even meant for us to carry, or that are not even, they don't even
Mm-hmm.
belong to us. I didn't even realize
Right.
there were so many of my mom's issues and things in the past that I was carrying around, that it wasn't meant for me to carry. So
Mm.
I had to, I'm learning to put those things down and put them back where they belong. And it's like, hey, this is not for me to deal with. This is her
Mm-hmm.
baggage. I'm going to give this
Mm-hmm.
baggage back to her. And I love my mom with all my heart, and but there are a lot of things that she carries that I wish she would put down. Mom, if you're watching this, put it down.
Right.
But she has to put it down. She has to put it down in her own time. And I'm not God. I don't know what that time is. I don't know what he has planned, and I don't know what he's working on through her. So
Mm-hmm.
why am I holding it? He didn't tell me to hold it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
giving it back who it belongs to. So that's a boundary that I
Yeah.
have this year. That's another way that I'm learning to come out of survival mode, giving people back their stuff. This not
Okay.
mine. This not
Mm-hmm.
mine. And if it's
Yeah.
mine, I'm gonna deal with it. If it's mine, I'm gonna deal with it. But if it's not
Mm-hmm.
mine, what my auntie Jean say, not my
Mm-hmm.
journey.
I
That's not
like
my
that.
journey.
I like that. Look, I need an Auntie Jean. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that's not my
Yes.
journey,
I
baby.
love that. I
She
like
will not
that.
my journey in a minute. You okay? She will say, "Oop,
Mm.
that's not my journey." I
Mm.
love
I
it.
like that. I like that. I do. I do. All right. So, final thoughts. Who is Miss Wright in 10 years? Final thoughts.
In 10 years, it was funny that you talked about mental health counseling and life coaching, because that is what I do see myself doing in the next 10 years. Like in 10 years from now, I expect to see myself leading the charge to really change mental health in the Black community, because it is something that has been so taboo. And I
Hmm.
believe it's because you have to look at what it's rooted in, and I'm getting chills just
You
thinking
do.
about it. You have
You
to look at
do.
what
You
it's rooted in.
do.
We were always made to feel like we were inferior from the time we were
Mm-hmm.
brought over here in chains on boats and
Yep.
kept in deplorable
Yep.
conditions.
Mm-hmm.
We were always
Come
made
on
to
now.
feel inferior. So
Mm-hmm.
why would I share something with you, such
Mm-hmm.
as I'm having problems up here, that will make you feel and think that I'm any more inferior than what you have already made me feel? So I
Right.
believe that is where the true seed was planted as to why mental health became such taboo. And it was something that was so taboo in the Black community, that
Mm-hmm.
Black people, we didn't go get help. You want finna be walking around here saying we crazy. Why?
Mm-hmm.
If you crazy, you crazy. You can go get help
Right.
for that. You know what I'm saying? You can go get help
Mm-hmm.
for that. And it's like, but no, I already feel inferior. Why? Because society has made me feel inferior. And older generations, that's all they knew. So guess what they
Mm-hmm.
did? They taught that to the generations, but it stops here with mine.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's why a lot of millennials now are seeking mental health, and they are
Mm-hmm.
seeking mental health awareness and resources and things like that, because
Yeah.
we know now that, it's a real thing, and you can deal with it without feeling inferior or feeling that, it takes away from who you are. If anything, it enhances who you
Yep.
are, because you become more self aware. So in the next 10 years, I plan to be speaking in front of larger crowds of
Okay.
black,
I love
beautiful
this for
black
you, friend.
people.
I love this for you.
I hope to I hope to write more books that help black women and black men. And I'm hoping to, have my own practice one day that, I'm able to speak with people individually to help them through their
Yeah.
life journey to discover who they are,
Mhm.
advocate for them, and, just help my beautiful black people get to a better
Yes.
mental health space so that we can stop competing, we can stop
Mhm.
backbiting, and we can stop fighting and doing all this stuff and really come together. So I think a lot of that is rooted in depression and anxiety anyway, but that's a different
Yeah.
conversation for a different
Mhm.
day. But in
Yep.
10 years, you're going to see me leading the charge on black mental health and definitely maybe some life coaching as well. And
Okay.
hopefully I can do this and have me my own burn boot camp one day too. Hmm.
Okay, I love that. Listen, I would definitely be one of those coming to your camp because I'm
Hmm.
that's a struggle in and of itself for me with the weight loss and things like that. Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. Oh my goodness. Oh, do you know you just kind of liven my spirit just by having this
Yay.
conversation with me
Of
today? You
course.
did. You really did. Because I was gonna stay in the bed till like 4 o'clock, and I'm like, I gotta get up
No.
because I gotta talk to my friend, honey. I gotta talk to Miss Wright, honey.
Yes. And then also, anytime you're struggling with mental health, or
Mhm,
you're in a depressed state, it's
mhm,
okay because that's how you feel. Sometimes
mhm,
it's hard to battle how you feel, but one of the things that I found in my journey is stepping away and resting, truly resting.
mhm.
And rest sometimes
Yeah,
may not be sleep. Resting could be, I'm going to just sit here and relax. I'm going to sit and write. Let me
yeah,
plan out my next few podcasts or something like that. But
yeah.
doing something and not just being stuck there, because sometimes what
Mhm,
depression and anxiety does, it clouds your
mhm.
mind. And so if your mind is
It does.
clouded, you cannot gain clarity on anything. And that's what I think you really need is just some clarity on some things.
Yeah,
And when you can gain that clarity on those things, you'll be able to really start to move forward. So
yeah.
pray for clarity,
Mhm,
in your prayer time. And I truly believe that, you'll begin to start to come out of some of the things that you're feeling, because that's why I was anxious and depressed. I was very unclear and uncertain about a lot of things, but I'm starting to regain my clarity.
mhm.
Um, and I'm looking forward to this year. 2026, I believe, is the year I really
Yeah.
began to walk and operate in my purpose. So,
Yes.
I want everybody around me to feel like this. I want
Yes.
everybody around me to
Amen.
feel like this. Hmm.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Well, thank you so much for coming on our new podcast.
Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate this moment. You have really shared a lot, and I appreciate you feeling vulnerable and transparent to really speak your truth about a lot of things in your book. I'm so excited. So
Hmm.
when do we have a release date that we can give
Yes.
people? Can we give the
Um.
fans?
Yes. So I
Because we are
am.
fans of Miss Wright. Do we have a
Yes.
release date?
I am. I would like to release it on my grandmother's birthday,
Okay.
just to honor her and dedicate it to her. My very first book. Her birthday is February 28th. So February 28th, I'm putting the finishing touches on it, and I'm going to get it published and out to people. So February 28th is when Becoming Her will be available.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna look for that. We're gonna look for that as soon as you start putting up different promotional things about it and whatnot on social media. I'm going to share and
Yes,
repost and share. So we're gonna be
it's
looking for
very
that. That
exciting.
is awesome. I love this for you. I love this for
Yes,
you.
yes, very, very excited. I'm very, very excited just to put the work out there,
Mhm.
because I know you're a private person, but sometimes your truth and your transparency can be very freeing and healing for somebody else, because you don't know how many times
Yeah.
I felt like I was by myself in a lot of stuff, but to hear
Mm-hmm.
somebody else has gone through it, it was like,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like when I'm in boot camp and I see the trainers getting
Yeah.
tired, I don't feel so
Mm.
bad when I'm out of breath. So
Yeah.
if I see somebody's
Makes
healing
sense.
journey and I learned that they have gone through something similar to me and they were brave enough to share their story, I was like, you
Mm-hmm.
know what? There is healing in my truth and my transparency.
Yeah. Amen. I believe that. All right, so well, to everyone who is listening in the new year 2026, we want to always check our mood and protect our peace. Do not let anyone dim your light. So to remember, self-awareness is the real flex. Until the next one.